We have a great team. We have some folks that are really passionate about helping others, and so we're happy to support the community any way we can. So
Thank you. And we're excited to have the box here for Toys for Tots.
No, no, I just wanted to thank you as well.
Okay, moving right along, city manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. Just a few things. We have the McKeekee Drive. There's really been no change on this project. The contractor's still waiting on the drain boxes to be delivered so that he can remobilize. It's still just having trouble with getting the materials on site. The contract date does end on November the 10th, so we're probably going to have to get another change order to add additional days to the project. The Hilo Way Drainage Project, the notice to proceed for this project has been set for November the 14th. The Twin Lakes Park and Dog Park, the engineering firm is still completing the plans and will be advertising hopefully soon on this project. Phase 4 paving, the paving started on October 10th. Monday, the crew was on Anamoa. Today, they were doing the south side paving of Loa Place. And tomorrow they'll start milling Golf Club Drive and actually doing the paving on it Thursday. After that, all that remains is the streets on Bayou Drive, or Bayou, and or however you say that. And so those will be scheduled around the water line rehab that's actually occurring on Bayou Drive. So they'll work together with that. I believe that entire project ends December the 3rd. So they have some time to get that worked out and finished. Turnberry, after meeting with Covenant Engineering, the city has decided at this time to not pursue the purchase of the land off Turnberry Drive and instead to focus on the downstream issues first. Lastly, we have Christmas on the Green set for December the 1st. It will be outside here on City Hall grounds from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. There'll be a lot more information coming on that. We'll have a lot of great activities here for the entire family.
Okay, any questions to my left?
Yeah, I have a question for the Turnberry Drive. Can you elaborate a little more about why? I'm presuming that was where the detention pond was going to be?
That is correct. Looking at some of the other issues we have overall, we feel like let's start at the end where the problem is and see if we can't fix those issues and work our way back up towards Turnberry itself and see if that doesn't solve some of the problems we have downstream, and then see how much of an actual retention pond we actually need on that property to help that flooding situations that do occur downstream. But some of that may just be, pipes aren't big enough, culverts aren't large enough, and that can be fixed without having to try to detain all that water there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is it the culvert? Is the culvert in on McKeekee Drive yet? I mean, has it come in yet, or?
It has not. They were expecting it Friday of last week. It did not show up, and so they've been told, I believe, another 10 days before expectation of it coming in. So it's just, I don't know. It's unfortunately just a materials hold that we're in.
Sounds like a custom culvert.
So.
I think that's typical with many projects going on now, not being able to get the materials. East Aloha, we've seen a few posts on Facebook about everybody hitting the curb. When I go out and look, and there's tire marks all over the curb. So obviously some people are having issues with the curbing. Looking at the cross-section for the next, phase over for our business district, which is about 3,400 lineal feet of roadway, we might want to look at pushing the curbing out and not doing just bays for the parallel parking. It's very confusing, the bays. You have three. Sure. If we did a continuous, so what I'm asking is,
Right.
Can we modify the cross-section and maybe everybody look at it up here and let's see if we can improve it in some manner so it's easier for the residents to maneuver and also park and
I will let the engineering firm know.
if we could have a few sample cross sections. Sure. Because what we have is not working. We see it. Okay. And any questions to my right?
Just a little bit more about Turnberry. So
Yes.
do you have any kind of rough time frame for how long you think it'll take to figure out the downstream?
I do not. We
Okay.
actually met yesterday and made that decision that we need to start back and work our way forward. So we'll start on at the downstream part and start working backwards. So it'll be a little while before we get back up
Okay.
there.
Well, you'll keep us
But as
posted.
far as residents around Turnberry and Crooked Stick, we're still going to work on their drainage issues as needed.
Okay.
And that was the Crooked Stick people, January, we're gonna start working on that, is what Ty had said.
Hopefully, yes.
So
if all
that will
goes well
be,
still.
we've got 10 homes on Crooked Stick, they can't walk in their backyard because it's even if you go today and we hadn't had rain in a while, you still cannot walk. We've been out there in the heat of summer. So being able to pull in the rear lot lines, rear ditches, bring it over to the city's lot that they bought on Crooked Stick and then discharge it is gonna be what we're reviewing and looking at to help the Crooked Stick people. Okay, any other questions to the right?
Yeah, I had a question about Aloha also.
Mhm.
With the sidewalks and the lights that are coming in, have we got an idea when that's gonna start?
The engineering firm received the as-built from the previous engineer and has started working on that project. I'll get with them and ask what the timetable is for that.
Okay, thank you.
And I had one more thing. I had a resident text me this morning about the Halloween last night, which, thank you, police department. Did a good job. We had a lot of little trick-or-treaters out everywhere. Golf Club Drive continues to be difficult with traffic, so their suggestion was maybe on Halloween night, 6 to 8, we do one-way traffic, where it has to go out in one way and out the other, and that may help, which I thought that was a brilliant idea. So let's look at that next year, get with the police department and see if that will help them, because it's a narrow street, and that always tends to be where we have the most congestion.
All right, will do.
All right, if there's no other questions, is there any public comments on an agenda item? We don't have anything on Hilo Way on the agenda. But how many people is here for Hilo Way? Okay, so we're gonna move up non-public comments up sooner so that you all don't have to sit. Okay, the first one we have up is Mr. Mike. Hey, where is the fire department? You wanna wait till we get to it so you can explain it, or do you need to go?
If that's best for you, Mayor.
No, come on up here. We'll hear what you have to say, then we'll let everybody remember what he says so that we can.
And I appreciate your time, Mayor and Council. Just real quickly, and I thank the council. I believe last year you adopted the International Code Council set of codes, including the IFC, the 2018 version. And this does address the variance that Elliott's requiring for the cul-de-sac length. In the code, it does require any cul-de-sacs that are 500 to 750 feet be at least 26 feet wide, and then have an approved turnaround at the end. So as far as my personal preferences on Diamond Head, that's a separate issue. I'm just strictly looking at the safety for the community and access for fire apparatus. So I think if the council does agree to approve a variance, it should be required to follow what the council's already adopted as far as IFC. And this kind of goes along with your comments on East Aloha also. It requires any roads that will be used for ladder trucks for aerial apparatus to be 26 feet wide, curb to curb. So that would address that issue also. So that future development, that would be a big help for fire apparatus, and it allow us as a community to grow without restrictions.
Excellent. So 26 feet wide, 96-foot radius on the cul-de-sac. Was that what I read that you recommended?
Yes, ma'am. And
And
in
700
addition to the radius, that is complete asphalt. It doesn't have a median in the middle. So the most recent cul-de-sacs that were put in Diamond Head Lakes, I think they meet the radius requirement, but they have a grass median in the middle, So if somebody was parked on that road, it'd be very difficult to get around them. So if we follow the code that we've adopted, I think we're sitting pretty good.
And we don't want people parking in the cul-de-sacs and the grass.
Right.
That's a constant problem. We do not want that, and I concur with what you're saying. It needs to be all asphalt. Did anybody have any questions? Okay, you have to wait for questions. This is for the council. Okay. But thanks for engaging, and thank everyone for coming out tonight. Y'all should do this every time we have one. I just wanted to share a story, and I'll be really quick about it. The other night I had an elderly couple call, and the wife had called. The husband had fallen on the floor. He's 86, and he's a big, strong man, so I knew I couldn't pick him up. So I called dispatch, and I stayed on the phone with the wife. I hung up just to call dispatch. I got back on the phone with her, and it was less than 8 minutes. The fire department was there. It was like 7.5. She had set her phone down, so I heard the entire conversation going on, and I can't say enough about the quality of service, the kindness, the way you all spoke, and made her feel so good. And she was so upset when she first called. So thank you, and I know you do this every day because I hear it. But thank you all for an outstanding job.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that. I think we have a wonderful group of personnel working at our fire department, and we're very proud to serve the community. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, next we have, and I'm going through agenda items first. Elliott Holmes, Peter Higgins.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Peter Higgins. I live at 96489 Diamond Head Drive West, and received notice as an adjacent property owner that Elliott Holmes had requested a variance for a cul-de-sac. And I have a prepared statement that I'd like to read. The Elliott Holmes application for a cul-de-sac variance from 600 feet to 723 feet should be denied for the following reasons. The current ordinance stating a 600-foot limit on cul-de-sac length is both a national building standard and a planned community standard, and it has been adopted in planning codes for most states and their local municipalities. This is contrary to Pat Rich's assertion and guidance to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I quote, "It is an outdated ordinance of the city and will be looked at for removal or change with other ordinances, so we won't have to go through this every time." This was at the planning meeting last week. Further, there are many smart plan and master plan communities that only allow cul-de-sacs to extend to 500 feet due to safety and evacuation concerns. Mr. Rich also provided the Planning and Zoning Commission information that the ordinance is outdated because the fire department now has hoses that will extend beyond 600 feet, and therefore the variance to lengthen the cul-de-sac should be approved. This is classic bootstrapping and very misleading at best. Whenever a new subdivision is built, private developers determine the layout of the neighborhood. They draw up the lots and blocks and build the streets, utilities, and houses in accordance with the subdivision regulations and other applicable codes. Once complete, they sell the houses, convey ownership of the streets to the city, and walk away. Elliott's goal is simple: maximize profits while meeting the minimum standards of the applicable Diamond Head regulations. They don't have to worry about the long-term needs of an evolving city. I applaud the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week for not passing along a recommendation to you, the supervisors, that the Elliott Holmes variance be approved. The use variance involves a request by Elliott Holmes to use the subject property in a way that is not permitted by the ordinance where the property is situated. The variance would be a complete deviation from the strictures of the ordinance. A good yardstick to determine whether a variance should be granted can be found in the master plan community findings of fact relative to the Elliott Homes request. Are there, and please bear with me for a second here, I'm going to read this a little bit slowly, just because it's important, the words that they say, I thought. Are there unique physical circumstances or conditions peculiar to the property that the unnecessary hardship is due to such conditions and not the circumstances or conditions generally created by the provision of the zoning, or in this case, the zoning ordinance? That because of such physical circumstance or condition, there is no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning ordinance, and that the authorization of a variance is therefore necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. Third, that such unnecessary hardship has not been created by the applicant,
Okay.
Elliott Homes. I'm almost done.
Okay, because we have a lot of people, and at
Okay.
3 minutes each, somebody's going to have to go make me some coffee.
Suffice to say that Elliott Homes would only qualify for maybe 2 of these 5
Reasons.
in a planned community. The applicant, Elliott Homes, would have the burden of demonstrating all 5 requirements, but is not to obtain the variance. In other words, an argument of, I need a variance because your ordinance is stopping me from doing what I want to do, is just not going to cut it. And it didn't cut it with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Let me close by addressing the required item A form that Elliott Homes had to submit to you or to the Planning Commission, which of course you now have too. Elliott Homes' response number 3 is untrue. Aiming to please residents of Diamond Head West as stated in their application has never been demonstrated by Elliott Homes. Evidence their lawsuit brought against the Diamond Head West homeowners, and I could go on with that. But factually, the greatest untruth here is the assertion that the variance to extend the cul-de-sac is in lieu of a T intersection. The issue of a T intersection was litigated in circuit court in Hancock County, and Elliott Homes lost. There can never be a T intersection connecting Diamond Head Drive West at that intersection, or at the cul-de-sac. And so they're saying that in lieu of the cul-de-sac, or in lieu of the T intersection, we're building this cul-de-sac. Elliott Homes determined the layout of their subdivision and cannot now claim ignorance or hardship. In addition, Elliott Homes' application is untrue, false, and misleading. For those reasons, their request ought to be denied. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all we have on the agenda for the Elliott Homes variance. So now we're moving on to the townhomes, which, Ms. Sandra Gray, number 17, townhomes. Now I am setting. For number 20.
The additional footage for a cul-de-sac.
Okay, give me a minute and let me, we're going to roll through the townhomes, then we'll come back. Sandra?
Good evening, everyone. I was at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting last week, and since then, some changes have been made that we have welcomed, and we appreciate the cooperation of the builder, and we want to thank Anna, Ward 2 council member, for helping us work through some of these issues. It is our understanding that they are going to leave out the word High Point out of their name, so we're pleased with that. It is our understanding that they won't place any dumpsters near any of ours because of an odor issue, and we're pleased with that. It is our understanding that he is creating an association for this community, and we are pleased with that, because in my opinion, it helps create property maintenance, and also keeps everybody's property values where they should be, because you have an association that is concerned about, each unit and the development itself. We still are concerned about any parking overflow that might occur, since the buildings will face High Point Drive, and the parking spaces will be similar to what we have now. We don't have any room for anybody's overflow parking. We don't. So that was one concern. It has been suggested, and I don't know how this has been received by the builder. It has been mentioned that they turn this into a cul-de-sac where they have their parking on the inside of this development and having their own little private road. Then they won't be using High Point Drive, or their parking areas will not be on High Point Drive either. I was thinking the builder was going to speak tonight, and maybe, yes?
He's here.
Okay,
The builder won't speak until we get to the motion, as well as the engineer.
I see. Okay, we were already told at the Planning and Zoning Committee, and this was just something we were concerned about, that they would leave trees and have green space. Because in High Point, we have plenty of trees and lots of green space, which adds to the beauty of High Point, even though we're an aging community. So we're hoping that the builder will follow through with that. I think they've said that they will, because that will only enhance the entire area. We're hoping that with these new buildings, now ours are 40 years old, wooden, and most of us try to take very good care of our buildings, so we still look pretty good, although we're an old development. So we're hoping that whatever design they choose will complement our community that's already there.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the townhomes, we have Mr. Charles Whitmore.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. And I also attended the Planning and Zoning meeting. And since then, the more I think about this project, the more questions arise. Fortunately, some of the things that Sandra mentioned, were important to us. But another thing is, this is less than an ideal site to build anything on. It's got a very steep topography. He's got 2.08 acres, which zoning will allow 17 units. But then there was some mention at the meeting last week about, and the survey clearly shows, the property line for this site for 300 or 400 feet runs right down the middle of High Point Drive. So there was discussion about adjusting that property line, or it sounded to me that that was the idea, to get the property line off the roadway. Is he still going to have 2 acres after they move the property line 20 feet over 400 or 500 feet? I don't think so. The other thing is this concentration of 7 units in one building and 6 units in another building. There's nothing like that in Diamond Head. I'm not saying it's not permitted, but it looks dense unnecessarily, because he could do 4 and 3. That makes 7. He could do 3 and 3. That makes 6. He's got plenty of room to do that, plenty of frontage anyway. So it would reduce the appearance of this huge wall of building right across from where I live. I don't like the idea of it. 4 and 3 would be, I think, more compatible. And there was also mention about High Point built the road and then at some point dedicated it to Diamond Head. Well, if his property line runs right down the middle of the road, how did High Point dedicate his property to Diamond Head? So I don't, from a legal standpoint, for the legal counsel, maybe that needs to be investigated. Was that appropriately done? Does it need to be corrected? And then finally, what step are we at in issuing a permit for this to be done? Is that going to be decided tonight to permit the property, or are there more steps along the way where public can review and comment? And I'd like that answer. I'd like to read the association documents that they're going to draw up, too.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay. Number 20, Mr. Higgins.
I'm a little extemporaneous on this one. I had no idea this agenda item was there. May I ask a question first? Who authored this motion? Or how did this motion come about?
Does legal want to answer?
This came on a recommendation from the building official. A recommendation from the building official.
From the who? Building official.
The building official.
I see. Okay. Well, that answers a lot of questions there. This looks to be an end around for the Elliott Homes variance request for 723 feet. I think I made the point that most of the newer strong towns, master plan communities are reducing the size of their cul-de-sacs from 600 feet below, not increasing them. There are safety evacuation issues. Obviously, it's in the developer's best interest. They apparently get some like a 20% bump for homes that are in a cul-de-sac. So I see every reason why Elliott Homes would want to build it in a cul-de-sac, but it just doesn't make any sense at all to consider increasing it. I appreciate certainly the fire department speaking earlier about a 96-foot turnaround. The information that I had said that that was the only thing that the International Fire Code spoke to, was the amount of the turnaround at the end of a cul-de-sac being 96 feet, which he said. I don't know what the current one is planned, but I had no idea that there was any kind of recommendation to increase the length of a cul-de-sac. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've done agenda items. I'm going to move non-agenda items specifically related to Hilo Way up so that we can hear your concerns. And we have the engineer on record for, okay. You've got a lot of people here to visit with you tonight. So let's start with Maria.
First, what I'd like to do is, I emailed this to everybody, including the city manager.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you. Bring it. I've included a larger copy of the properties affected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I would like to say thank you for hearing us about this issue. We all, as neighbors, agree that the flooding that's happening, or the water intrusion that's happening at 7953 and 7941 is the situation that I wouldn't want to have in my own home, and I wouldn't want to have it corrected. With that being said, I'd like to mention the city manager's comments regarding the Turnberry project, that they're going to look at where the problem is first before moving on to our larger project. And I think that that's what should have been considered for this situation. If you have this right here, if you look at it, the problem that's happening is happening right at 7953, which if you've inspected that property, you would see that the culvert not only is about 8 to 10 inches, but it's crushed. And that's where, coming from Maui Street, heading downstream, there's no problem until it hits that culvert. So then it starts overflowing. On top of that, across the street, this gentleman right here, his culvert is crushed as well, which forces the water to back up in his ditch, overflow the street, and the natural water flow goes right into the front of 7953, causing even more issues. So I think that would have been the better plan, to have addressed those two situations first before putting out a complete tearing up of all of the driveways and front yards of all of the properties on this side of Hilo Way. With that being said, I realize that the contract's been awarded, which means that also, and that the notice to proceed hasn't been issued, which means that the clock starts ticking. They have 120 days. If they don't meet those days, then they start incurring LDs. I understand that part of it. But we would like to request this information, and hopefully we can get with the engineer and get some answers. Can we review the engineer survey? We request a review of the hydrology survey to see exactly how they feel this is going to be corrected. We request a review of the 10% completion plans, the 50% completion plans, and the final design. What is this going to look like on our street? Does the designing engineer believe that the proposed drainage improvements will work 100%? It's going to alleviate the problem with the water intrusion into the homeowners' properties. Will the work be completed in phases? You do realize it's the holidays. You're starting November 14th. We've got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, which means that everybody's going to have plans that now are going to have to be canceled or done another way, because there's going to be no place for parking. There's going to be no way of accessing the homes. If the proposed work is to move forward, what is the city's plan for parking for the affected residents? There's going to be construction equipment there, a lot of it that stays overnight, just like on the drainage work that's happening now. If it's going to move forward, what's going to be access to our homes? We've got a couple of our neighbors that have health issues. How are they going to access their homes if the driveway and the front yard is torn up? Can a temporary stop order be issued until this can be reviewed? We also have concerns about debris. What are they going to do with the cleanup? Where is it going to go? Is it going to be sitting there in our front yard? How long is it going to stay there? That's pretty much everything that I have. I know this is not something that you can give us answers on right away, but hopefully we can have a good conversation. We do want to move forward. We do want to make sure that this situation is rectified for the homeowners affected, but we just don't feel that the proposed plan right now is what really should have gone forward, what should have been awarded or approved on such a situation that doesn't need such a large scale of remediation. Thank you.
Thank you. And the notice to proceed is not going to be issued till November 14th, so the days hadn't started yet, just to clarify that. Thank you. Was anybody else here to talk about Hilo Way? She does an excellent job. So y'all have a good representative. I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, for the engineer of record to come up, which is Machado Batano.
Yes. Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me be here as well. I'll just kind of roll through. I have a copy as well. John sent me this the other day of, I believe, that same document that she just read through, and I'll kind of just go through items one by one. First, to further expand on, Mayor, what you just said, you're right, the notice to proceed is set for 11/14. The dates won't start counting until then, but that document also has not been executed yet. It was just verbally agreed. It's something that if the council would like to further mull over this, it probably could be pushed. There is some verbiage in the contract that, it might be a certain number of days after award and everything when that notice to proceed has to commence, but I don't believe we're at that window yet. So that is something that could be pushed a little bit if desired. As far as the survey and all that, I mean, those documents are y'all's property that I have no objection to the residents seeing them. If that's something that y'all would like them to review, that's completely y'all's prerogative. I can provide more information as well if needed. As far as the 10% and 50% plans, that's not really something that was published. We took this original drainage exhibit that Jared Kirkpatrick and I were here probably back in July or so, presented, that basically just showed our plan and showed what culverts were undersized and how we were going to go through and replace them the size they need to be replaced with. This is about as a preliminary drawing as I can provide, but again, I absolutely do not mind providing that to any resident who would like to see it. So as far as the phasing work and the holiday schedule, it is a 120-day contract, and she is correct that the contractor is responsible for LDs if that project is not complete in that time. But I've spoken with the contractor. This is not a 120-day project. This is not something that will take that long. They don't work Thursday and Friday of Thanksgiving. They said they're going to take several days for sure, the Monday and Friday of Christmas weekend, and possibly a couple more days off. And with taking those days off already, they're not concerned about meeting this date. And if there's more days would like to be added, we'd like to close more holiday days, I don't think they would have an issue with that. So again, that's something we can discuss down the road to absolutely avoid work through the holiday season. As far as the parking plan, we have not come up with a parking plan. If there's something specific the city would like to do with public parking up here, that is, absolutely on the table. I can assure you that the driveways, the contractor will not replace a driveway and block access for more than a day. Whenever they pour concrete, it'll be cured enough to park on in under 48 hours, and they'll do it in a way that you're not looking at more than 2 work days, a work day and a half without being able to park. So it's not going to be weeks at a time you're blocked off from your house. They're going to do it down the road so that they're not having all driveways ripped up at once. It's going to be removed and replaced down the line. So again, to ensure that you're not having this massive blockage of residents to their homes. I believe that's most of the concern items. Mailboxes will be replaced if they need to be removed. Most of them I don't think need to be removed. If they do, they will be replaced. I believe that's all the notes I had. If y'all have any questions for me.
I have a few.
Sure.
So, and I did read through your whole list, Marie, I did. I didn't get engaged until July 25th. So that's when, and I actually drew this that everybody has up here. I noticed my handwriting. So it's been passed around. And I just worked with the residents. I didn't meet with the engineer. I haven't talked to a developer. I just met with the residents specifically. Right. So the concerns we had on July 25th, 2 residents were here. They had exhausted all their resources trying to get help. Mr. Jake, Mr. Frank were flooding, and it was a new build. Met the owner of the new build not long ago, and she stated her backyard is underwater constantly. I've been out there when it rains. So these 3 homes specifically have very serious drainage issues. Mr. Jake gets water in the garage when it's not even a high rain, a medium rain, and no resident should have to deal with that. So then it was added to the agenda on October 2nd, 2021 to have you all do a study. Then in February, you all came back and were authorized to do the construction plans and the bid documents. And now we're here in November, and it takes a while to get things going. And we have the construction plans. And I think what we're hearing, and not hearing exactly, is we got residents concerned about subsurface culverts being taken up in areas that wasn't addressed as the concern.
Right.
We do know water's flowing across the street because I have seen it. Maybe Is there other methods you could look at? And how many culverts are you replacing on the north side of the Hilo Way?
The north side, I believe, just 3. Let me see.
Is any of those broke?
I'm sorry.
Is any of those broke?
I don't believe so. I mean, we didn't video the pipes or anything, so, I can't confirm that they're not broken, subsurface, but I do not believe any of them are known to be broken. So yes, 3 culverts on the north side.
And how many on the south side? Beside 7953?
10.
Are all the ones prior to 7953, the 10 that you're taking out, or is any on the downstream?
I'm sorry, I have parcel numbers. Who's the property? Do you know which property? Is property 7953 the new build, or?
7953 is a new build.
Yes.
The new build, okay, so I'm sorry. So upstream of 7953, there are 6 pipes, and downstream 4.
Okay, and I don't know, and I've been out there when it rains a lot.
Mhm.
I videotape, but I mean, you can't go on what I'm telling you. You're
Mhm.
the engineer, you're stamping it, and at the end of the day, you're liable. Did we look to see if that downstream was causing the problem of the water not getting out because of the new build? Because it seems to go to Mr. Frank's house, then it can't get out the subsurface at the new build. It goes to the backyard, completely around the home, and then over to Mr. Jake's garage.
Right,
And when it
right.
can't get out there, it backs up, and then it's in Mr. Frank's, and this close to getting in his home.
Mhm.
So I hadn't seen it backed up downstream, I guess is my question. Have we-
Downstream of this location?
Mhm.
So, again, in this study, I just ran, our hydraulic analysis, and I started at, is this vertical Maui, I believe?
Yeah.
And the capacity needed for all these pipes was severely undersized. I also have not been out here in a major rain event, so I know there are obviously other contributing factors other than pipe size, but that is obviously a huge contributing factor. And just for example, the culvert in front of Mr. Jake's house is a 18-inch corrugated metal pipe, which are very prone to being bent and crushed. But at full diameter, its capacity is 9.68 cubic feet per second, and according to my analysis, it needs to be 31.7 cubic feet per second. So you can see the big disparity there. So, no, I've not studied in a rain event downstream of this, but I know that obviously if we have something near the 31.7 cubic feet per second there, that downstream does not have the capacity for that.
So we could be creating problems downstream from that by
Oh, no,
doing
these would, with that, there's no way this would create problems. This is absolutely more than tripling the capacity. So this would not be creating problems. I believe the concern is if we might be trying to fix something that might not be a huge issue, if I'm
That
understanding
you're
correctly.
hearing very clearly.
Right, but no, this absolutely would not create an issue, no.
Okay.
And it's not that we, want to reduce the scope of work. We probably just want to, and this is just my thoughts,
Mhm.
revisit, look at, we know these 3 properties, and if Mr. Jake needs a new culvert, then that it is what it is, because we
Right.
know these 3 homes are flooding. This
Right.
is where the problem was identified. And catching the water going across the street. Can we look and revisit if all the others were part of this problem? Because if you run hydraulic analysis on every street in Diamond Head, we're going to be pulling out every culvert.
Right,
I just hate
right.
to tell you, because I can tell you my street probably, and I live there, I know it.
Right.
Just about every street in Diamond Head, if we run a hydraulic analysis, we're going to see that we have some concerns.
Right.
And this is just my thoughts. Anybody else have any thoughts? Councilman Clark's right there with me, so.
So if I could just, my concern with that is, I do believe fully that what is causing that water to this, that new build was built up, so it is all being flowed directly to that culvert, which is severely undersized. It is backing up because it can't all get through that culvert, and that's what's causing it to go around, because it's going around the new build, correct?
Right.
Around, and then yes, into Mr. Jake's garage, which I know is built low, so obviously it's coming around that building to the east and then into that garage area. So if that culvert is opened up, I do feel confident that will alleviate that water and direct more of it through the culvert, avoid going around the home. But by opening up these culverts, you're also going to not only increase the volume to downstream, but also decrease the time it takes to get there. So I would be concerned with opening up everything upstream of this, because while it will drain the water quicker, by draining the water quicker, it obviously gets it downstream quicker, which then could cause those, even if they're not backing up now, it could cause those to back up, getting that larger volume of water there so much quicker. So that would be my concern of if, replacing culverts upstream of the bottleneck issue and not replacing them downstream as well.
Upstream. Yeah, you're talking upstream. So everything from Mr. Frank that way is upstream, because that's falling down to Mr. Jake. It's all going, if you look at the contours, to Mr. Jake, then down the street, and it falls out.
Right, going east.
Mhm.
Right.
So if we didn't, and we're just trying to talk this out, if we didn't change anything upstream, then we're not sending any additional water. It is what it is.
Oh,
And they're
I'm so-
not
yes,
flo-
I'm sorry.
So they're not flooding, and they're
Mhm.
happy, and they're
Mhm.
fine. And we haven't witnessed it. I don't think anybody out there's witnessed, they hadn't
Mhm.
witnessed it. And I hadn't personally, but I have witnessed these 3 homes. If you open these 3 up and then had it flow downstream, how many were you changing out downstream?
Oh, I might have misunderstood you earlier. I'm sorry. I thought you were
that's okay.
saying replace upstream, not downstream. Yes, replacing, I do think if there's no issues upstream, it could be a possibility to just start at probably at the new build and go downstream, and that is 4.
Can we look at that? I think collectively, do we agree to look at that?
This is our engineer's development
Okay,
project.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I can look at that.
Of course, you'd have to get with the contractor on this. I mean, we've already got a bid
Mhm.
out there for it.
Well, I mean, luckily.
We're
there's a-
looking at a change order.
Well,
And
it'd be
that's not a good thing.
Well, it'd be a significant deductive change order if we, if we can, we have it's a unit price contract, so if we can get rid of all this material upstream, I mean, it's gonna be a deductive change order, so.
If he has any extra, can he give it to McKeekee?
Yeah, that guy's looking for one.
Because Kara will take it. Okay, can we look at that? So how can we, if the notice to proceed, can we check the date? So our next meeting is November 15th.
Okay.
So we feel confident that, you said you felt confident that the NTP could hold off from November 14th. So can we readdress this at the next city council meeting and look at it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any other comments on this?
Yeah. Before she said everything I want to say almost, do you feel like this is the best way, the only answer to the flooding we have here?
It is the easiest way without, some significant drainage design. I mean, I know we had our meeting last week with some of the residents. They wanted, all subsurface drainage and everything, and I know that's prettier, but that's also a lot pricier. As far as just a way to get the drainage away from these ponding areas quicker, the only way with relative ease I see is just to open up, allow a greater volume of flow through there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to not do anything we don't have to do.
No, I totally understand.
No one thing. I mean, it's the taxpayer money we're spending.
Right.
And, I think we should try another way. Maybe do a little bit at the beginning and see if this fixes it.
Mm-hmm.
Start at the root of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then go from there.
Right.
I mean, I don't want everybody's driveways torn up, culverts torn up, replaced when we don't have to replace them.
Right.
On the left side of his house, I mean, they've got no issues over there, right there at all.
Right.
So yeah, I'm all in favor of stopping this right now,
Mm-hmm.
coming up with something new, different change order, whatever we got to do to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that.
Just as far as proceedings of that, it would be, we can, again, it's a unit price contract. We can limit this down to 1 pipe, but then we'll just have to go through the whole rebid process if you wanted to do more work later, which is definitely doable. I'll just, it's not something.
We may save money in the long run.
I mean, definitely. And like I said, I just wanted you, to make sure that's not something that could just be added quickly, it would be a process. But again, that's definitely doable.
I mean, also, was the concrete that's being replaced in the driveways? Are you looking to go back 1 seam, 2 seams, or?
So they will remove the concrete at the edge of asphalt to the limit they need to install the pipe and then back to that next joint. So there will not be an oddly spaced joint. They'll go back to that nearest joint, and then they'll replace it with 10-foot joint spacing max. So they'll just kind of center it. You know, if you cut out 16 feet of concrete, they'll put one at 8 feet, so it's symmetrical.
Okay, 'cause I mean, there are different grades of the concrete, of course, and
Right.
one of these residents has the good stuff.
Okay, right.
And are we gonna replace it with the good stuff, or is
Right.
it gonna be, you know,
Right.
what everybody else is gonna get?
Mhm.
They've obviously paid a lot more for their driveway, and it looks great. I wouldn't wanna come back and have problems with it, because we replaced it with something
Right.
not up to their standards.
Right. The contract currently is just all consistent concrete across the board. There was not different.
So it's all the good stuff?
Well, no, probably not.
Everybody's getting good stuff?
Right.
All right, so I think we all agree. Do we agree to the right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
come back
yeah.
on November 15th and let's see where we are.
Okay.
You know, on the agenda, let's see. Let's do a presentation and see where we are.
Okay.
Because you did such an outstanding work, yes. Yes, Marie, can you please come up here? We don't like people sitting in their chairs.
The house that's not in scope of work is also the culprit to and it's the house across the street that has the broken culvert, it's crushed,
Okay.
and it hits the culvert, can't go anywhere, so then it starts overflowing the road. But that's not in the scope of work. Maybe
Right.
that's where some of this money can be diverted
Okay.
to in the contract, if it's possible.
Okay.
And look at that as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I had a
Thank
question-
you.
I had one quick question
Sure.
about the mailboxes.
Yes.
You're gonna replace them, okay. Are they gonna be replaced with what was there, or are they just going to be replaced with mailboxes?
They'll replace with what's there.
Okay,
Yes.
so-
Any existing condition, driveways, the driveways are included with little head walls, so you're not going to have edge of driveway
Okay.
down into the ditch. There'll be a little curb and
So-
and mailboxes as well. Anything that
It
has to be
will
removed
be
will be
equivalent
replaced.
to what was there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, ultimately, if we need to do this, you know, to keep people from flooding,
Mhm.
I'm all about that. I don't want anybody flooding, not
Totally.
one person flooding, if we need to do this.
Right.
So,
Just check the upstream.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Moving right along to non-agenda items. Miss Liz Marengo. And we have Kate Norton. Are y'all talking together? Do y'all need 6 minutes, ladies, or are you like combining your three? Okay.
Obviously, you all have a lot more that you're dealing with, and thank you very much. This has been a very eye-opening experience, listening to everybody. Just a couple things we wanted to bring forward to the city. Being an animal-loving community that we have. First on the agenda is the distemper. We have run across a couple of raccoons that have tested positive, and we need to make our residents aware that this is a thing that is actually starts out with unvaccinated stray dogs. And we just recently had a stray dog pass away this last weekend, or had to be euthanized with distemper. A resident just happened to be, nobody could get a hold of him, animal control couldn't catch him, but had a routine with a resident that was feeding him and had to take him to the ER last weekend and have him put down. So we just wanted to get support from our city about letting our residents know that we need to take heed to this. There are different, a banner that we just all passed out, different numbers people can contact. In fact, I just called City of Diamond Head yesterday because of seeing a dead raccoon in the ditch on Golf Club Drive. And I knew with Halloween treaters coming through and stuff like that, we don't need that kind of stuff laying in the road, and they very nicely came and handled the situation before the crowds came and stuff. Again, distemper is caused by unvaccinated stray dogs, and we have been dealing with a lot of issues with that in our community lately. And thankfully, we have a lot of volunteers that try to come together and get animals back to their owners, or get the situation handled through different animal control and dispatch and stuff. But we do have one dog that we've been dealing with for quite a while, And Nancy, I know you're aware of it.
Yep, very aware of it.
Over a year and a half now.
Mhm.
And now it's to the point where, you know, residents don't want to call dispatch and keep having, I mean, this dog jumps into the animal control truck because he's so used to it. These people bail this dog out every single time. I know they have paid thousands and thousands of dollars to deal with it. But yet, you know, when we try to reach out to them with a rescue to maybe help take the dog to a better area or something like that, because we get nowhere with it. We also have residents now that are taking him back to his home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning while he's roaming around, barking in everybody's yards and stuff. You know, we're trying to figure out a solution to this. From what I'm told, if he's not a danger to the community, well, my dog's been attacked. I have like 3 complaints just in the last year where he's gone after my dog. And I know I handed out and have talked to my ward person about it and stuff. How is that not an danger to the community? We need to find a solution to this because this has gone on way too long.
And I totally concur. Can you, getting back to the distemper, can you let the residents know what we need to do to prevent the spread? Because this is where we're lacking information, and they need to know.
We have put out a couple posts through the
Okay.
SPCA of Diamond Head of what people need to do and who they can contact when they come in contact with an injured wildlife of any of that sort.
So if we don't leave out pet food or water,
Yes.
bowls outside,
Yes, I mean, there's many
especially at
residents
night.
that feed the
Okay.
raccoons and the deer, but that's how distemper spreads.
Okay.
Is through all the other wildlife and stuff. We have to take control of that and be more mindful of it so that this doesn't spread and become a bigger issue.
Right.
Because it is the wildlife that's the victims here right now, you know, but also having all these stray animals around, dogs. Okay, that's another thing. When they go to the shelter doesn't require proof that the animals they give back to their owners after being taken in because they're strays, that they've been vaccinated. They're spreading it too. You know, it'd be nice that if we can work with the shelter, you know, that they have to test these animals before they give them back to the owners. My dog was just attacked recently, not by JJ, another stray, and I called the shelter to find out if the animal had its rabies shots and everything else, because she ended up with injuries, and they could not give me proof that happened.
All right. Well, we can't thank you enough, both of you. And I know y'all work hard. I see your post. Y'all work night and day, and we thank you very much. It's all volunteer for what you.
SPCA is all
volunteer.
They have no building. They have no.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's just handled between a few of us that go around and care about the animals. I understand a stray getting out once in a while, but when it's gotten to this
A year and a half, it gets old. Okay. Well, thank you both, and thank you for all you do. Thank you very much.
Can I add one?
Yes.
30 seconds.
Yes.
She always takes up all the time.
I think y'all at 30 seconds. You're at 5 minutes and 30
Okay.
seconds.
Just want to reiterate, we don't have a building, we don't have a paid staff, we're working out of our homes. On weekends and evenings, we're the ones that get the calls because there's no animal. Animal control and the shelter have bankers' hours, and we're the ones getting all the calls, even though dispatch, they can help, but they're in animal control isn't there for us. So, but if anyone wants to ever help with us, we need all the help we can get. Money, manpower, everything. And we appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you. I just want to ask John a question. Could the city send out an e-blast about the distemper information?
Certainly. We'll be glad to do that.
Because a lot of people do see it on Facebook, and they've been great about posting all that, but just not everybody's on Facebook with
Can do.
phone numbers, and this is very serious. Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We're moving on to, and let me make sure I got everybody. So next we have Dempsey. Now we're doing non-agenda items, and then we're moving on to the agenda.
Council, Madam Mayor, I was supposed to be behind somebody else. So at this time, I'd like to yield my time to Antoine.
Antoine, okay, thank you. Antoine?
Thank you, Madam Nancy and council. Excuse me, I'm very nervous. I'm not used to speaking in front of people, but I'm sure everyone's aware of the cul-de-sac parking off of Bayou Drive. I would like to just state a little story. 2 years I cut this lady's grass. 2 years. The third year I started cutting her grass, she got some young men to do it. I was very happy that she got the young men. I'm glad to see the young men working, trying to make a dollar. Fast forward into the summer, they went back to school, couldn't do her yard. She asked me to pick it up, I did. Same thing next summer. The boys did the yard. I was very happy to see it. End of the summer, she asked me to pick it back up. I didn't have the time nor the manpower to pick it up, so I had told her no. After that is when I started having a problem of parking in the cul-de-sac where I'm out of the way for emergency vehicles, out of the way of getting the roadway cleaned from when I'm doing the yard. She's even given me ice chests and gas cans that she no longer needed. But now it's an issue for me to park in this cul-de-sac because she's planted a flagpole there. She's planted numerous plants. She even had large rocks around the cul-de-sac didn't want me to park in there. It seems like just only the one lady is having the issue with me parking in the cul-de-sac. And I just like to get to the bottom of it and see where am I supposed to park. If I park in front of the man's house that I'm taking care of, I cannot get the roadway cleaned in front. Ms. Nancy, you and I had a discussion. You said that not many people clean the road. I blow the road off when I discharge grass on the roadway. I feel like everyone that's doing the yards need to clean the roadways. So I do it. It makes my job look a little nicer. Now, with this being said, the cul-de-sac is filled up with plants. Where am I to park?
Thank you, Antoine.
Can I address it?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We're going to have open discussion here to the left.
I just want to say something. Okay, so Antoine, you know, I used to do the grass cutting and
Yes, sir.
lawn service and all that kind of stuff too. So I know you're getting to certain yards and stuff like that. You have to park here, you have to park there. Okay, so I hate to see a tiff between anybody, especially neighbors. People used to work for each other. I mean, this is just getting out of hand.
Yes,
on this
sir, it
cul-de-sac.
has with the property owner, the lady. All of this came about when I told her I could not take her yard at the end of the summer. I was filled up, had no time slots available. That's when all of this started, when I told her no, I couldn't take her yard.
Okay, and I get that. And look, if somebody had done me that, you know, once, twice, and 3 times, I'm not taking the yard back. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? I get that. I understand that. But look, man, I know you have one of the houses in that area where am I cut off already?
Councilman Clark, you have been cut off. No, go ahead.
Give me
We're
that.
fine, because this needs to be settled.
but
It's
I mean,
consuming everybody's
You know,
time.
we have police involved in here, writing tickets.
Exactly.
You know,
And these
we don't
police
have
shouldn't even be
time.
involved in this.
Yeah, that shouldn't even be an issue. Now, how are we gonna get to the bottom of this? I mean, I've parked, you know, because I've done the same thing. I've parked in my people's driveways, you know, to do it? I mean, is this something that you're totally against? You can't park anywhere in the driveways?
It's a narrow driveway to back a trailer into. It is a drop-off off of their driveway. It's about an 8-inch drop-off. I would have to have a wrecker pull my trailer off if I backed
And
it off.
are we
that
talking
drip.
about the one on the left side of the lady we're talking about? Do you cut that one?
Yes, sir. I cut that
Okay.
one.
And you couldn't pull in that, I'm just asking you, could you not pull in that driveway to do the work? I mean, I know you're blowing off the driveway and all that kind of
It will be a
stuff.
tight squeeze. It will be a tight squeeze. But this went on for 2.5, 3 years, and it was all fine. It never happened, never became an issue until I told her I couldn't do her yard.
Okay, so how do we move forward out of this? I mean,
That's why
I
I'm
mean,
here.
is it
That's why
something
I'm
you,
here, trying to move forward.
do you feel like you can't pull into the driveway?
What was,
You know, I mean,
I've
just
been
to end the discussion with all this, the fighting, the bickering, the calling the police out, all that kind of stuff, would it not be, could you not just pull in the driveway? I mean, if you can't, just say no.
No, I
and you were
can't.
looking at,
I'm
no,
not-
okay.
no, I cannot
Can,
park in the
can you
driveway.
park in front of the vacant lot that you and I talked about, which
Well,
is
if
a
I do,
prime
then
area?
I have an enclosed trailer, and if I do, I bend the gate on my trailer, and that's on me. And I'm not gonna bend the gate on my trailer. on an
What's the
enclosed
difference in
trailer.
parking in the asphalt there and parking in the cul-de-sac? It's the same road.
Well, I'm still blocking the road where I've been parking.
You are,
I
but
was
a
leaving the
cul-de-sac,
roadway open.
and you just heard the fire chief say, I don't want grass areas because people park and I can't make the turn. This man is asking for a 96-foot radius on a cul-de-sac, which is larger than any we have because he can't make the turn. It is so, and I am totally against people parking in the cul-de-sacs, but that's me. Personally, I know what he goes through, and I've drawn a lot of cul-de-sacs in my life, and ours are very tight. So, I mean, that could be another area. We're just trying to find a solution so everybody can get along and we can all
Well,
move back.
I wanna get along too.
Can you try
know.
that just one time, park there and see how
I
that
wanna get along
works?
too, but not one time have I was the one to call the police, not one time. But when I was parking in the cul-de-sac before she put the flagpole and all of the plants and all of the other little reflectors, there was never a problem for me parking. Now all of this stuff is planted in the cul-de-sac. I can no longer park in the cul-de-sac.
And the flag's been there like 3 years.
No, ma'am, that flag hasn't. I disagree with
2
you.
or 3 years.
No, ma'am, that flag's been there one summer.
I'm gonna have to disagree, but we're not here to
Wait, I don't
disagree and
wanna get
agree.
along. I don't
No,
wanna-
we're not.
Let me
Can you
ask-
just try parking in front of the
Let
vacant
me
lot?
ask you one question. If a fire or emergency vehicle is coming and you're out cutting the lawn, would you be able to hear it?
There are loud sirens, yes, sir.
So you'd be able to get to your car or vehicle and move it before they actually
I would do
enter
my
the
very
cul-de-sac?
best. I would do my very best.
That's all I wanted to know.
He would have to put the tailgate of the trailer up, get in the truck and move it, and there's delays. But go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, where are the other yard people parking on the street? Are they parking
In
in front
people's
of
driveways?
No, I
I
don't think
don't-
they're parking in the driveways. Then you gotta get out, get off the mower and then get in the vehicle, move it to clean the driveway. It's really hard to clean, you know that. It's hard to clean under a vehicle.
Yeah, but when I cut my grass at the house, you know, I do the same thing, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm not hooked up to a trailer and everything at the same time as well. But, you know, I'm just trying to help get this out of the way. I mean,
And I
just-
appreciate that.
As a business person like yourself, I mean, I just try to take care of my customers, and I didn't like any of the residents on either side of them or anybody around, you know, having an issue with me. You know, and so whatever I had to do to make everybody happy, I just did that, you know what I'm saying? And now it's the parking on the other side of the cul-de-sac. Now, where you're talking about you can't put your tailgate down, is it the embankment
Yeah,
that you're
it's a
talking
drop-off.
about?
It's a drop-off.
Not in front of the vacant lot that I'm talking about.
I mean,
There
from
is a
the- from-
drop-off in there.
Not if you're on the street.
So there's
on the
not a ditch
street.
area?
And you're gonna be on the street no matter where you are there. That's a
Exactly.
perfect spot, but you're not in front of, so how would you feel, and we have to look at this as neighbors. You know, first of all, we shouldn't even be to this point. If everybody would have been doing their jobs, we wouldn't be at this point, you know, but it's constant passing the buck. Nobody wants to do it, and then others take sides, and they're gonna do what they wanna do, because We're not taking sides, we're hearing a plain statement. You know, that is not in front of, how would you feel if somebody was cutting grass down the street, not even cutting your own, but they're blocking your front of your house? They're just parking in front of your house to go cut all the neighbors down the street.
I would say I'm there for an hour and 15 minutes. Ms. Nancy.
Because you do that, and I get it. But other people look at it like it's an inconvenience, and that's what I'm paying taxes, and this is my home, and why are you... And that's how some folks look at that. So you have to be respectful of both views. So at this point, I mean, we need to really, and maybe let's and I don't even know what to say, because I'm to a point now where it's consuming the police department.
Exactly.
You know, everybody's time, because we can't agree on something. And on the shrubs, you know that we have, Keep Diamond Head Beautiful has a form that anybody can plant in the medians, including the cul-de-sacs, if it's approved by Keep Diamond Head Beautiful, specific plants. You can't randomly go do it, but you can get approval to do it. So that is something that we do.
Has that been approved for that property?
No, there's not been a request made. And the house
So we've got a flagpole in the median.
In the
And
cul-de-sac.
rocks. In the cul-de-sac.
The
And
plants,
rocks.
Keep Diamond Head Beautiful had the approval for years, because we have the form.
it's a policy here for the city of Diamond Head, and Public Works has to look at it because they have to mow and maintain it.
Well, why don't we get somebody out there to look at it, and let's get the plants done, because we've been talking about this for months, and now we've got escalating personality conflicts that is really getting critical, and you're on notice about it. So let's get somebody out there. We've got a widow woman that has no idea she needed to come get a permit, so let's help her with that. The flagpole's been there 2 or 3 years, and it was for a dead veteran. He has passed away, so
Yes, ma'am.
I have a concern with somebody knocking it down a few months ago. We're not going to talk about that either. And leaving the American flag on the ground. So what do we have to do legal to get the flagpole approved? What is this widow woman with a deceased veteran have to do to get her flagpole approved in the cul-de-sac?
Mayor, let me just say this. The ordinance as it's written right now allows workers to park for up to 4 hours in the medians. The median is city property. Whether it's an American flag, a pride flag, a Trump flag, a Bush, whatever it is, it's the city property. So if someone's going to put something in city property, they would need to get the permission from the city. However that's spelled out, they would need to have permission from the city to do that.
How is that spelled out? Does anybody here know? Have we not researched it? Because I did call the city manager. I tried to call you, but you didn't call me back. So can we look at this?
Did you leave me a message? I didn't get a message from you. I'm sorry.
I did. I left a phone call. So I have a list of questions.
Did you leave me a message?
I did.
Okay, I did not receive a message from you.
Did you get my email? Are you free Thursday at 10:30?
I am not.
Okay, well, we need to reschedule that. I didn't get that response either. But getting back to, have we looked at this? Have we looked?
The only option is to adopt a median. That's the only current method we
Okay.
have by which an individual can adopt a median and make that theirs to maintain and take care of. And that's what Ms. Klein was referencing, that Public Works would have to go out, review the plan to make the determination as to whether this is something that they could continue to mow and maintain afterwards.
All right, and maybe we could have the police help you find a safe place to park.
One more question, Mayor.
Mhm.
There's cypress, little small cypress trees planted there. They grow about 25 inches a year. There is a sewer manhole there. They could get these trees bigger, which they will get bigger, and just mentioning that the roots could be growing into that manhole.
Okay, and so when Public Works goes out, make sure they address that issue. Okay, I think we've talked enough on this topic. Thank you.
The police chief.
Oh, I didn't see him. Thank
for your
you,
time,
Antoine.
all of you. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
We're putting the timer on. We're good.
This won't take long. I don't plan on answering any questions. I'm going to make a statement. and actually give some facts to the situation. Other grass cutters are parking in the same exact place Mr. Sosha is parking. That's the facts. As far as us finding him a safe place to park, we are following the ordinance where applicable, where Mr. Antoine was parking a couple of months ago inside the grass area in the cul-de-sac was appropriate because he was off the roadway. He has now been forced into the road from structures put into the median. Whether it's approved or not, that is not my scope, beyond my scope. But we are wasting a lot of manpower hours constantly going to this area, patrolling it every day to look for people who are parked in this cul-de-sac. This has to end. We have to come to some kind of agreement. This has to end.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Captain Gambino. All right, now moving on to, I think did I get everybody on the agenda? I think he waived his for Antoine. Go ahead. I'll put the timer on. You got 3 minutes because we have exhausted this discussion.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. I am really getting caught between a long-time neighbor. I was the first house on the street. I think Pat was the second or third house on the street. The deceased veteran that you've made reference to, he and I were like two peas in a pod. If my boat was going hooked onto the back of my truck, he was in it to go fishing. All of this started, and as far as what has happened between those two, I've tried to stay neutral, tried to stay out of that. Now, when the rocks showed up, they were actually putting the rocks out, and I needed to get my camper out. Well, they saw that I could not get my camper around the cul-de-sac because of the rocks. He moved them in a little bit. Well, I'm seeing now, and look, there is nobody in this building right now more patriotic than I am. But all of this started with the flagpole. Somebody knocked the flagpole over. He said, she said, somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? On anything? Isn't that typically, even when you go to court?
Yes.
So, I know that Antoine wants to make this right. He wants to sit down and talk with the lady, work this out, but he is afraid to go knock on her door and talk to her. My advice to him was, call these gentlemen back here. Have a police officer go with you. Don't get me, don't get you, don't get you. Have a police officer go with him and them sit down and those two try to work this out. Right now, I can't get my camper out without running over something, and I'm not going to damage my camper, or getting out and moving something. Oh, God forbid. I'm not going to get out and move anything. But I swore up and down I wasn't going to get drug into this. But now here I am, right in the middle of it.
You are right in the middle.
But
You're right. It's to a point now that where people need to.
maybe we need a mediator from one of you
Get
guys to
along.
sit down and talk with them.
Councilman
go.
Clark has volunteered to be the, and we've lost a lot of, and thank you, Dempsey. We've lost a lot of time tonight discussing this issue that all I can say is, you know, we've got so much going on in this world, we shouldn't. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see him on here. Okay. I'm at a loss for words because Diamond Head is such a beautiful community. You know, we help one another. We're known for that. People come in here and know what we help for one another, but yet We have a few issues that need to be addressed, and it's just disturbing. But moving on, Mr. Gaines, I am so sorry. We're very talkative tonight, so come on up.
Well, anyway, I know Pete Higgins already touched on this part of it. The cul-de-sac that they're talking about over here on item 18, extended out another 123 feet, which would be 723 feet, right?
Right.
That's on Elliott Homes property. It's adjacent, it's right next to number 14 Fairway, am I correct? And it's the one off the end of number, they're gonna go extend it down 123 feet along that fairway.
I don't think it's on that fairway. That's 14. What fairway, do we know what fairway it's on? Is it 14? Okay.
Okay, because it's right behind my house.
Okay.
For one thing, they're gonna extend it out, okay, another 123 feet. That's what they wanna do, and keep the houses right along the fairway. What size are these houses gonna be? What size? What
And this is phase 2? So the minimum's 1,900, on the golf course 2,000. Is that correct?
Golf course, 2,000?
2,000 square foot minimum? Okay.
Okay, that's 2,000 square foot minimum home. Over here on 19, this says, that I don't know where this is. Let's see, it says 1,800 square foot residence on a lot designated for 2,000 square foot minimum. The variance granted is 200 feet. Cut it back to 1,800 feet. It's 2,000 minimum. Where's that at?
Huco Court. Is that,
It's 6410 Huco Court?
Mm-hmm. That's the address, specifically.
you know where Calipacona is?
Where?
Calipacona? Where the,
I'm not sure where that's at.
The big
It's not
circle.
Elliott Homes, right?
No.
Okay, it's not in that subdivision, but still, if you start giving out variance and letting them putting smaller houses on lots that are designated for 2,000 square foot homes, you're asking for trouble. Down here on number 20, motion to authorize planning commission to publish and, section 308, subdivision regulations allowing the minimum length of a cul-de-sac 715, maximum length of a cul-de-sac 750 feet. Where's this at?
This will be for any new subdivision. So this is to change the subdivision regulation. So any subdivision built from this day forward, when the sketch plat comes, the cul-de-sac length from the center point to the intersection is 750 feet. It'll be in
Okay.
the regulations.
Well, that's what they're wanting to do. That's what they're asking to get
Right.
done. Okay. What are the minimum amount of trees supposed to be left per lot out here in Diamond Head?
7.
How many? 7 or 6?
And I'm gonna have to concur to our building department because I see a lot less a lot of times.
Okay. The reason I'm asking this,
Mhm.
because behind my house over there in Elliott Homes, they clear cut that. And it had, instead of just leaving the existing dirt and bringing in some fill for the lots to be built, they brought in red clay, and it looks like the moon back there now. There's not a tree on that place. The drainage to the east goes into the Twin Lakes, and it's all silted up, going right into the lake, and you can go down there and look at it anytime you want to. It's been like this for 4 years. They didn't even put in any silt barriers for 3 years, and then, 2.5 years, and then they finally put in silt barriers. To the east, guess where it goes? It goes in Pond 13. That's Cardinal 13. That pond is ruined, all right? And they put dye in it to make it not look so bad. But I walk that all the time. I know what it looks like. The sand pit, the sand trap over there on 13 fills up with mud every time it rains. It runs down the road right down the cart path. They have to clean it every time it rains. So I'm just saying, if we're supposed to be leaving 6 trees per lot, whatever it is, leave some trees. There's not a tree on that place out there. It looks like the moon. All along the fairway from right behind my house, all the way down to the tee box on 14, they pulled all those trees out along the fairway. There's not even, I think there's 1 tree. And if they start down toward the Twin Lakes, putting houses in, which is going to put it further toward the east, if they pull all those trees out, you're not going to have any trees along that fairway at all. They're taking them all out. That being said, we need to, if we've got an area, we've got to do things out here in Diamond Head, we say, you leave 6 trees per your lot, then we need to hold to that. And if they're gonna have to put trees back in, put them back in. Okay?
Excellent
That's all I got to
points,
say.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Did I get everybody? Because I skipped around. I tried to group together topics. Does anybody else have anything to say? I'm being very generous tonight. Okay, so let's move along. Let me pass that back to the city clerk. And now we're starting on the agenda. Could I get a motion to approve the October 18th, 2022 regular meeting minutes?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the October 24th, 2022 special called meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I get a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-006, thereby authorizing the city clerk to resubmit delinquent funds Exhibit A to the Mississippi Municipal League Intercept Company LLC, Mike, for debit set off through the Mississippi Department of Revenue and for other related purposes? Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? And this is to help people that have not paid their fines, pay them with their income taxes. City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
Cumberland.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Marr.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Could I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 4 through 11?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor? Aye. Action agenda items. Could I get a motion to approve participation in the Hancock County Resource Center's Christmas Tour Drive and using city outreach resources to announce City Hall as a designated drop-off location?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? All in favor? Aye. Motion for discussion. I'm going to move for discussion and possible action regarding drainage on Diamond Head Drive North, Amoka, Kaliki Way, and Aiki Way. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Do we have the engineer working on this here tonight?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
I-
Are you
Ben
hiding
is-
over
Ben is
there?
not here. Ben is not here tonight. Andrew is. I'm not sure how much
Andrew
he is
was
familiar
sinking
with
in that
project.
chair. So-
but they are working on that entire drainage basin, including 56 and 57.
Okay, remember this specific project, you all are working on this specific area. I know Ben has gone out and looked at this area, and we've got residents, and we know rain's coming, you know, it's getting to be that time of year, and these homes flood. So where are we at? Have y'all picked the topo up? Where are we on this?
We have gathered all of the locations that have been reported to us, and so we're trying to look at all that right now and seeing what information we currently have. And we're gonna have to go out and just get more survey done. So that's what we're putting together right now is an additional survey scope that we'll have to send out here in the next couple of weeks.
The next couple of weeks, you'll have something to meet with the city manager on?
I'd have to double check on that. I expect that we're gonna be able to get locations to the surveyor there a couple of weeks to get something out there. So probably 3 to 4 weeks is what we'd be looking at.
Okay. And while we're talking about this, I know somebody had mentioned the 10, 50, 90. It used to be in the engineering world, if you did a government job, you had a 10, 30, 90, 95, and then 100% submittal. And I had at one time had a motion on the agenda to ask for the city manager to have those dates, and that was specific for that. You know, where are we, what we're doing? You know, we've missed some of those dates, so we're just asking all the engineers. You know, we've got people that have waited a year. This is a year and a half. We've been bringing this to the city, so you hear the cry?
I understand. I do
Okay.
understand. So, you know, initially we thought these were part of the major systems, right? That was the problematic areas. We went through the first round of data acquisition with the surveyors out there, went through our modeling. For the most part, the major tributaries look good. So we were starting to look at all of the reported flood locations, indicating more localized flooding issues. And so we have been putting all that together, seeing how that relates to the bank erosion in some of the other areas, and seeing how, what we can kind of look at and combine. And, but we're still piecing all that together to deploy to get some more data on it.
All right. Is there any questions? Well, thank you. Just keep moving. Whatever the city manager can do to help you.
And we'll put together a schedule to satisfy all those submittal dates.
Okay,
That's
thank
what
you.
we harp on it, but, you know, if we don't, if there is no schedule for us to look at, we can't report people asking them. We have to come back and ask you if there's a report that's being generated, then we don't have to continue this process.
Absolutely. Understood.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Andrew.
Motion for the third annual Dog Park Day to be held on Saturday, April 1st, 2023, Harbor Circle on the south side. And I'm going to move on that. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Marr. Any discussion to the left? Any discussion to the right? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to make a motion for that, or is that just an annual event?
Well, so everybody knows and we can advertise. It is an annual event.
Okay, just making sure.
And Councilman Finley won last year. He did. He's the best doggone chef in Diamond Head.
And Mayor, I'd ask if we could hold item 15 until after executive session, because that'll be the topic, one of the topics for executive session tonight.
Okay. All right, so we're going to hold 15? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And then, you're very welcome. Then we're not going to do 16 was tabled. Moving right along to number 17. A motion to concur with the Planning Commission's recommendation for conditional approval of the sketch plat for the townhomes at High Point. The sketch plat is a 17-unit, single-family attached townhome development. The total number of acres is approximately 2.8. The current zoning of lots is R3, high-density single-family, with the parcel number being 067L-0-35-089.000. The subject property is PTSE 1/4 northeast quarter of 25-714. The property is bordered on three sides by High Point and homes along Golf Club Drive on the southwest. The case file number is 2022-00264. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Marr. Could I get a second? I will second. And now we're open for discussion, and I would like to start with the engineer of record. Or Mr. Jim Krotowski. Junior.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Yes, we do. We have several over here. You want to pick one out?
I'm sorry. How can I help you? I just,
I think if anybody has any questions, a few issues were brought up tonight, so if you all could answer any questions, if we have any questions that need to be asked. Any questions to my left?
I listened into the planning and zoning meeting, and I heard some of the issues that were brought up tonight about, that they had worries about the dumpster and where it would be placed and the name. But it sounds to me like you're attending to all those. Is that correct, that you're going to be making the modifications to the plans?
I can answer after he goes.
Okay.
Or y'all can both share the
Yes.
mic.
Sure.
We're very open
Real
here.
quick, I'll just go over it.
Mhm.
So for my notes, my name is Jimmy Grotowski, 758 Augusta Way. I appreciate the support y'all have for service members, 'cause I'm actually National Guard, so I appreciate that. The patriotic
Thank
thing we have
you.
for the city, I love it. The building name, yes, we are looking at other options for that. I see why they would want to change it, 'cause it's been such a big part of Diamond Head. Splitting the buildings, for ground coverage, I think it was 65 or 70% is the max allowed coverage I could have on the property. And if I look on the High Point Drive side to the I guess that the sixplex, if I split those, I'd have to have a setback, I think, of 30 feet from each building, so that might not be feasible. We could look at it, but at the moment, we're just gonna keep what we got, and if we could change it or whatever, we'll look at it. The parking spaces, there's 34 parking spaces on the units on the drawing. I just thought it was easier to access it from the front of the building than the back. I could look at that as an option. It'd probably be a lot more difficult. You'd also, if I was to put concrete there, Duke could explain it better, but there'd be more runoff from all that concrete, creating more drainage, so I didn't want to make that an issue. About the property being in the road, the city actually gave me some land, said they were going to give us some land, and they were going to take some land, so that shouldn't be an issue as far as the 2 acres. And then in 2014, the road was dedicated. So, and my parents actually signed off because they owned a High Point unit at that time. So, that shouldn't be much of an issue.
Okay, you have a question? Okay, I have one question. So, looking at the site plan, you've got a building with 7, the next is 6, and the last is 4. So that made the 17. And there's a lot of green area that's just south of that. Is that because of the contours that's open? The developable area, do you know, Duke, your percentage on that? 'Cause
Yes, there's a 20-foot drop from the
Okay.
High Point to the back.
so all that is not developed. Are y'all planning on leaving the trees, or? I know you got a detention pond in, so you're gonna clear just for the pond, but you were gonna leave the rest.
We have to keep 60. We have to keep 63 or 67, I believe, is what Pat works. I think it was 67 for this acreage. So yes, we would have to keep at least that many trees.
So your developed area is what percent? I just want to say the plan looking at it looks like you left a lot of green area, and we hadn't been seeing that lately, so thank you on that. And if you're leaving the trees on the part going down, that's even better.
Madam
Mayor,
Mayor,
Mr. Rich said 45%.
Oh, okay, that's why it looks so green. Okay. And it's because of the contours you didn't?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions to my right?
Yes, and I just had a few questions, and I think that's wonderful. Y'all are gonna leave trees. If you can leave more than 67, will you? I mean, because.
That's the plan, yes. I don't want to take out trees.
You're not gonna go through and just mark 67 and say, okay, you can take everything else.
No, I'm probably going to take out the ones for the frontage for the buildings, obviously, because he's got to figure out where his points are. But
Right.
everything behind that, and we're actually getting rid of that storage building, I believe, because we didn't want to put in that 20-foot fire lane and all that, and it'd be kind of hard to. It'd just be kind of difficult, and it'd also be more runoff, so we could keep trees there as well.
Okay.
So we're definitely going to look at it.
You're
we're
gonna
not.
try,
Yes.
because High Point is so lovely with
Mhm.
all the trees that they have, and I think that, residents are worried that the aesthetics might fight with what's there, but, I think the more trees you can leave.
Well, we had to
less-
pay for trash to haul off trees anyway, so I'd rather try and keep them if I could.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's.
Right, and then can you speak to the, just kind of the facades? I think the drawing, you and I spoke, and you said it's not really indicative of what the finished product is going to look like, and
No, it's in the preliminary stages of designing. That is just a design our, I guess like our designing company that we use has. And actually we saw there's like a roof on the sheet, but actually it would just be like more of a flat roof that would slope off the back, so that roof's not even a part of it. We definitely dressed it up different ways. I'm from Structure Diamond Head, like I'm with them. They build houses all over High Point and on both views, so they figured out good ways to make houses that are marketable, so I don't think we'd have any problems with finding ways to design it to make it marketable for this location.
okay, so y'all are open to making it prettier than?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and then thank you for agreeing to take High Point out of the name. I know that was important to the residents, and I know you agreed to add an association, which was a concern.
Yes, I did. I forgot to mention that, yes.
And then, so do you think it's a no right now on separating the 7-unit building? Are you still gonna try?
I'd have to look at it, but the only thing it would give me stipulate is if I was to do that, would I have to go back to planning and zoning with the new layout the way it is? So,
Can Pat or Ron, can y'all answer that? He'd have to go all the way back?
Yes, all the way back to schedule for this plan approved, yes.
You can't amend it once it starts?
Well,
Okay, well, I'm asking because I don't know.
What was your question?
My question is, some of the residents were asking if the buildings that are 6 and 7 units wide could get separated into groups of 4 and group of 3. And he and I talked about that earlier. And you were open to trying. I just didn't know what you decided.
That was the main thing, is if I had to get kicked back to planning and zoning, and I'm
Well,
trying to
I-
move forward, but.
I didn't know
we
that,
can
so
do that.
I do now. And you agreed to move your dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, thank you for being willing to work with everybody. And I appreciate it.
All right, Councilman Finley, you have anything?
I'm good, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Action agenda item 2023-053, Elliott Homes LLC, represented by Josh Fleming, has submitted a request for a variance from the subdivision regulations, Article 308.6, to allow the construction of a cul-de-sac 723 feet in length. The variance requested is 123 feet. The property address is proposed Anahula Lane at Diamond Head Lakes Drive and Diamond Head Lakes subdivision, and this should say, so please add it, Phase 2, because I was thinking we're in Phase 1, so now that we're on phases. Phase 2, the tax parcel number is 067L-035-012.000. The maximum length of the cul-de-sac is 600 feet. The variance request is 123 square feet. The case file number is 2022-00448. At the regularly scheduled meeting on October 25th, 2022, the Planning Commission did not make a recommendation as the motion to approve the variance as requested failed to pass with 3 voting yes and 4 abstaining. Could I get a motion?
I got a question. I don't know if I can ask a question right now.
Well, if we get a motion, you can ask a question, but until then, no. Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. And if y'all don't mind, we're going to start with Kara, the engineer of record, to explain how we got here and why we're here.
Evening, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's been a long night tonight, so thanks for hanging in there and sticking it out with us. We are here tonight to ask for a variance for 123 linear feet. It's 600 is the maximum allowed. We're looking to do 723. I want to start by saying this was already approved on the sketch plat. This is the current layout that was approved. We haven't changed anything, and it's my understanding that that layout came about from the residents who did not want the through street. So we are trying to meet the needs or the wants of the residents and what they really truly want, which is ultimately going to be a cul-de-sac. The only other way to develop the area is to do a cul-de-sac if you don't have a through road. I also want to point out that there are numerous cul-de-sacs in Diamond Head that are longer than 600 feet. So they are out here, they exist. There's absolutely no technical reason to not do this. I'll also point out that there is an agenda item that everybody is aware of now, item 20 I think it is, that is also to amend the subdivision regulation to allow for a longer length. I did do a quick search based on what Mr. Higgins, I think it was, said, and I noticed across the country there's multiple standards. They wide range, go all the way up to 1,500 linear feet. There's nothing that says that they're across the globe going shorter for any particular reason. That's all I really have for technical reasons on a cul-de-sac length. If you have any specific questions, let me know.
Any questions to my left?
Yes, I.
The question was, why are they requesting it? Why are they requesting it?
So, if you're wanting this variance of 123 feet, will you conform to the fire code of having the 26 feet width of the road in the cul-de-sac?
Yes, we will meet all the requirements.
And the 96-foot
Radius.
Yes. And I mean, this is still, we'll have to go through all the approvals through the city and everything. Diamond Head Water and Sewer District, we have to do a full design plan, construction set of plans, and that will all be approved through the city and Diamond Head Water and Sewer District before anything is built.
Okay. Any questions to my right? I'm going to ask for, who wants to come up from the building department? Okay, Mr.
Thank
Rich.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kara. And that's Kara with Pickering Engineering.
Well, I'm assuming you're gonna ask the question that I wanted to ask, so, but if you don't, go ahead.
What's your question?
Well, I mean, I guess what everybody would want to know is how did we get 4 abstaining votes from the planning and zoning?
Very good question, Councilman Finley.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. We didn't get any reason or anything, just abstentions. There was one commission member that said he'd like a little more time to look over this and get some more facts. And of course, we explained to him that we were under a time crunch there. You have 45 days from the request to a decision is rendered from the Planning Commission. So we were on top of that 45 days, so we didn't have time for that. I know that I asked, and Kara asked also, is there anything else we can provide you with that you don't have? And didn't get a response from that. So that's the only person that spoke up. The rest just abstained.
Can we get the building officials, for you all's recommendation on this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. And I think I sent that out to
Yes,
you
you
earlier,
did.
but I want to go back through that again. And this goes to how we got here.
Okay.
How we got here, in November of 21, council voted to adopt the 2018 international codes, the ICC codes. And part of that was the International Fire Code. When we adopted that, the building department went through and made all the changes to the ordinances, updating the ordinances to comply with the codes. We contracted with Covington Engineering to do the same thing for the subdivision ordinances. And we're still waiting on that. That hasn't been accomplished yet. But this was to change from the 2012 codes to the 2018 codes. And we're required to do that every so often. We can't be but, 2 years behind, 4 years behind, I guess it is, or 6 in this case. 2 editions behind, I believe is what it's called. So anyway, we had the approval for it to do these codes. And then we came up with this cul-de-sac that, in fact, Kara identified that was longer than 600 feet, and our existing code said 600 feet. So our recommendation is to, and concurred with by Chief Munger, that 750, the 2018 International Fire Code says anything up to 750 feet is okay. You don't need to have any variances for that. So it has increased during that period of time from 600 to 750 feet. So that's the logic and the reason why we came up with the staff recommendation. Had the current codes been adopted and reflected in our subdivision regulations, we wouldn't even be doing this. Okay, it would have already been there. It would have said 750 feet, and you don't have to have a variance. Now, to the next logical step, we want to correct this situation. So that's why we've asked for the second part of it, and that is to permission to hold the hearing to go ahead and adopt these codes, including not only the 750 feet, but also the 96 feet diameter for the cul-de-sac and the 26-foot road width.
Are you going to
Is that
address?
muddy?
Are you going to address what the fire chief asked about not having the grass in the middle to have it asphalt?
We will have more conversations with the chief on that, but yes, that's something new to us.
Oh, okay. Because while we're doing this, we probably need to do.
I agree 100%. Yes.
And I guess my other question was, this is phase 2, and it wasn't spelled out in many places phase 2. So a year down the road, we're going to be like, oh, that must have been phase 1 because it's not specifically stated phase 2.
Well, we're not sure whether it's phase 2 or phase 3 right now. I think that's a moving target.
And that was my other question. If we don't know where we are, why are we already asking for the variance? Are you to a point where you need to, or is it something you could wait until?
Before we can do preliminary plat approval,
Okay.
This must be taken care of.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're at
Yes.
prelim. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Any questions to my right?
Well, is there any, other than the 4 abstaining votes, it was just bizarre, odd. Is there any other reason, for this, not just for this specific, subdivision, but any other reason you think we should not extend it to 750 feet, as is the code in 2018?
Well, there are people much smarter than us that come up with these codes. This is an international codes. And we depend upon our fire chief to give us good recommendations, and he goes by the codes too. So, to answer your question, I don't see any, all the heads are nodding yes, so.
Okay, to my left, any questions?
Yes. So, if we took it back to P and Z, could you get all of them to vote on this next time around, or where are we at? I mean,
Councilman Clark.
are they just all scared to do that? or
My
what?
crystal ball is a little
Rich,
fuzzy
be
at this
careful.
point in time.
I advise Mr. Rich to be careful.
My crystal ball is a little fuzzy at this time. I cannot predict that.
And so y'all will recall, I mean, we've had this situation come up before where there's been no recommendation from P&Z. They've either recommended to deny, or they couldn't come to a decision, or for whatever reason. So this is not the first time that you've got something without a recommendation. But the 4 abstentions definitely was a first for me.
But we do have a recommendation. You emailed out.
We have a staff recommendation.
We do have a
The
staff.
same recommendation that we made to the, so, we went through the proper procedures, did the advertising, the notices, all that, okay? Sent mail outs to the parties as was said earlier today. We went through the hearing, heard everybody. So we followed all the steps, and a requirement of a recommendation is not required in order for you to pass this. We're a recommending body. The Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommending body. Y'all are the decision makers.
I have a question. So,
Yes.
since we're asking for a variance, how do you respond to all the points Mr. Higgins brought up about this doesn't meet our requirements for granting a variance? I don't want to read them all again.
Well, and I appreciate him saying that, because that's normally what we go through in the variance process. But this is a very unique situation in that the ordinance the subdivision regulations have not been changed. We have authorized the change of that, but the physical happening of that has not happened. Okay? So we wouldn't even be here discussing that had that not happened. Now, rephrase that, ask me that question one
Well, I
more
was
time.
just asking, he read the entire list of the reasons that you can ask for a variance.
Oh,
and,
okay.
The criteria.
Yes.
And this doesn't meet that, correct? I mean, that's what you said,
That's-
right?
It is one
Yes.
of them, and
Ye-
then
yes.
the council is going to tell us which one it met.
The variance procedure itself,
No, which one of the reasons
Which
why
are-
you
which are
can
the
request a
conditions?
variance, and there's 3 specific reasons. And it's,
you go ahead with your thought, because I'm not sure I follow you.
so this
Well,
did,
okay, to answer your question, this was a unique circumstance, okay? In that although it had been voted in 21, it had not been reflected in the ordinance. And that was through no fault of the
Which is why we're
person.
trying to clean up the ordinance.
That's correct.
In number 20.
And that is of no fault of the applicant that has not happened, okay?
But didn't they know that when they drew their plan?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
so,
I mean, I wasn't here then, I don't know.
Well, the plans originally were not set for a cul-de-sac. It was only after the lawsuit that forbid them from using the entrance there was then it needed to become a cul-de-sac at that point in time.
Is that what you were gonna say?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, so basically,
We don't talk from the seats, and we're just getting out of order
Okay,
here. But you
but-
want to come up? Okay, come on up.
All right, y'all finished with me?
We are, so your recommendation is
Yeah,
to move
To
forward.
grant the variance as requested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rich.
So yeah, so to answer your
Mhm.
question, basically, you know, when the lawsuit had happened, we had a cut through.
See if the mic's on.
Is the light,
Is
is
it
the
on?
light green?
Oh, okay. All right, can you hear me now? All right. So basically what had happened was when the lawsuit happened, we had the cut-through road going through those two lots right there, which all know we happened, but this is not the jury right now. So with that being said, the reason we came to the cul-de-sac conclusion was because we could not cut through, basically. So we pulled it back, put the cul-de-sac there to qualify now, I guess, for what the variance is. So that's basically where we stand on it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's not just to piss everybody off.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Me, nay.
One nay. Motion to, moving on to 2023-055, motion to authorize the Planning Commission to publish and I skipped one. Motion to concur with the Planning Commission's recommendation to grant a variance for the zoning ordinance Article 4.5.5G to allow the construction of an 1,800 square foot residence on a lot designated 2,000 square foot minimum. The variance granted is 200 square feet. The property address is 6410 Huco Court. The tax parcel number is 131D-2-13-009.000. The property is zoned R1 zoning district. The minimum square footage for the lot is 2,000 square feet. The case file number is 2022-00450. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to?
Oh, no,
Oh, we have discussion to
yeah,
my left.
I would like to know why they're asking for this variance and what makes this unique.
We could have just left you standing here, right?
Wish I was that tall. Okay. What makes this unique? This is actually we ended up in a compromise with this. They wanted a larger variance than this, and this is a compromise we came up with. This is located Huco Street. It's right where the no-name pond is there on Calipaconia. You know where
That's the
pond?
Calipacona Pond.
Oh, is that what it is? I didn't think it had ever been named.
It's,
You named it?
yeah, about
Okay.
30 years ago.
Okay.
My son
Calipaconia
loved to
Pond.
fish
Okay.
there. Uh-huh.
So it's one of the streets off Calipaconia, Huco, and it fronts what used to be part of that pond. It used to be much bigger until it started silting in. So it used to be, and it was back since 2012, those particular lots were 2,000 square feet. The, okay.
The minimum square footage to build.
Yeah, minimum square footage were 2,000, correct. All right. So Mr. Bergeron came to us. He wanted to build a smaller house, didn't want a building cost, et cetera, which has nothing to do with granting the variance. But what was pointed out was that he was right across the street from some of the new minimum square footage that we did recently, especially on the portion that was making Diamond Head great again, Casano's project. Okay. That's what we did, those 1,800 square feet. So right across from him were 1,800 square feet. So that's how we arrived at the compromise there. He's not on a golf course. He's not on water. I guess at one point in time that was on water, but it's not on water today. It's on wetlands, but not on water. All right. So that was how we came to the compromise on that.
And There's no objection from neighbors or anything?
No, we had no objections from anybody, and the council, the commissioners voted unanimously on that compromise.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions to my left?
Yeah, I just don't want to get in the habit of, going against what we've already set for one person, and all of a sudden just go ahead and behind and say, well, it's okay for you, or it's okay for you. I don't want to get in that habit of, I want to make sure we have a really, really, really good reason why we're allowing a variance like that.
And the really, really good reason was that we had just, for those areas right almost adjacent to him, we had designated new minimum square footages of 1,800 square feet. And he agreed to, instead of the 1,700, whatever he wanted, he agreed to build an 1,800 square foot house.
And that's without the carport or garage?
That's heated and cooled, 1,800 square feet.
Okay.
Because he's building a gigantic garage and entertainment area and
So it's not a building cost issue?
All right, we're going to move to the
Well,
right in a second.
yes.
We're still on the left with questions.
Like I said, I just want to make sure we're not
No,
opening it up to everyone else that wants to do this.
I don't see that happening.
Being fair. Just want to be
Okay.
fair to everybody.
This was individual case basis.
Okay. Any questions to my right?
Yeah, I do. Well, statements maybe. Well, I will ask a question. This says that you guys were going to deny the variance.
That was the staff recommendation, correct?
Staff recommendation, but they voted unanimously to accept it, but at 1,800 square feet.
That's correct.
Okay. So I did talk to the guy that lives next door, and he did. Some of the people in their area have some concerns with it, but looking at the map, I see where you're coming from, making it 1,800 square feet, because that is odd. There's only 4 lots right there?
4 lots right there, yes.
That are 2,000 square feet.
Yes.
So,
I think 2 of them are on the water.
Why were you guys going to deny it?
We were going to deny it because of the 5 reasons. He didn't meet the criteria for the 5 reasons, okay?
So there's not a problem with building a 2,000 square foot house on that lot?
No, it'll fit on the lot. That with all the out stuff that he's going to put on there, he's got more than it's 2 lots combined is what he has.
Yeah.
Okay, and both of them were 2,000 square foot minimum. When he combined it, it's just 2,000 square feet.
They were 75 feet wide. That's small, so that's 150 together. And I know it's not my turn because we're on the left, so I'm going to
Okay.
keep Councilman.
Okay.
That's it.
I was just going to add that because his question was valid, and I was feeding off of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was it.
that's
Okay.
it. Councilwoman Lacey?
Thank you. So, just to be clear, it's just because he doesn't want to build a 2,000 square foot house? He doesn't want to build a 2,000 square foot house, right? There's not like a good reason for it, like, other than that?
He did not present a reason to us in what he gave us that was anything other than that, other than the 1,800 square feet across from him. That, yes.
Okay, because, I mean, if he's doing all these extra outbuildings and all that, then it doesn't sound like he's worried about.
I can't disagree with you on that.
So, I think it's a slippery slope as well, if we start to grant variances just because I don't want to. But that's all I have.
Okay, Councilman Finley?
I agree with everybody.
That's what happens at 8:15. Okay, we're going to call all in favor,
Hey, can we do a roll call? Is that possible?
if I say it.
Can you say it?
I don't know. Do you have any coffee? Okay. Yes, we can do a roll call. And you can start with me.
Finley.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can make me second.
She needs coffee.
Mayor.
I'm going to be a no on this one.
Lisi.
No.
Cumberland.
No.
Clark. Mark.
No.
All right, moving on to To motion to authorize the planning commission to publish and hold a public hearing for the purpose of updating section 308.3 of the subdivision regulations, allowing the maximum length of cul-de-sac to be 750 feet in accordance with 2018 edition of the International Fire Code, section D103. The planning commission shall make recommendations to the council. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Marr. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion to my left?
I think we talked a lot about it already.
We have, and the only discussion I'm going to add is to reiterate what the fire chief asked for, no green area. To the right? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the docket of claims DKT 230153, DKT 230185 in the amount of $79,921.27. Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilwoman Lisi. All in favor?
Aye.
And there is a need for executive session?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
I am so sorry, but comments are closed for the night.
I just wanted to make sure that the record reflected that the council had asked your attorney for the 3 criteria that Elliott Holmes was supposed to meet.
Okay.
Those were not provided.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So we do public comments, and they're at a specific time. I let y'all come early because I thought some folks wanted to leave. I was being nice there. So that's why we don't go back and redo them. Okay. With that being said, I am going to move to go into executive session to find the need to go into executive session. Could I get a second? Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.